And hello everyone, welcome once again. My name is Logan, this is Decode Your Reality, and today we're doing part 3 of Jesus and Satan. Jesus versus Satan, Jesus and Lucifer. I think this is my third version of this, but we're going to go deeper with this aspect right here to clearly give you some things to ponder and consider, just in case you had some questions or some doubts. And I'm just here to show you things. I'm just a catalyst. These are my opinions. You may or may not agree with them. That's okay too. What do you see? I always ask, what do you see? But, you know, these are just my opinions. These are my truths, by the way. I believe firmly in my research. I do more than the average bear. Let's get into this. And we're going to start off by bringing theology into this. We're going to start bringing Genesis 3 verses 15. I've shown a post on this before, and if you notice in the background, there's a heel, a foot stepping on a snake, and then you have a rendition of Jesus and Satan or Lucifer right here, the division between the two, the as above, the so below. But this is God speaking in 3 verses 15. He says he's going to put enmity between thee and the woman. So just who is the woman? Well, it's got to be Satan or Jesus. It's got to be one or the other if he's going to say it's a woman. And of course, he talks about between thy seed and her seed. So what are we talking about here when it comes to seeds? And he says, it shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. Now, we're going to talk about all this stuff. The seeds, I believe, are right here. Those are the two seeds. And the enmity, if we were to put an obelisk right here, or making this a division symbol, there's the enmity between the two. Could even be the seasons, like, spring and fall. Pisces number 12 would be here, and then you have Virgo at the bottom, 6, 12 and 6. If we're looking at it in this aspect. And of course you have the 9 and the 6 here, and here's the bruising of thy head on the snake's head. And I believe that the bruising of the head and the heel are right there. If this was a head and this was a head, the heel of this one would be here. The heel of the 9 would be right there. And then of course it's the head smashing into the heel, and then of course the head smashing into the heel. So we have the aspects of the bruising. And of course, keep in mind the word bruise equals 74, just like Lucifer and Jesus equals 74 in the English ordinal. Kind of interesting there. But this is Jesus and Satan Decoded. Let's get into this. These are my methods used for decoding. I'm bringing pi now into this. The almighty perfect circle, the never-ending digits of pi, the cosmic egg. The number 0. Zero's a number. I've been trying to get debated on that. And it's like, man, the ancients used the 0. And there's for good reason, because pi contains all the numbers. It's never-ending. It's the cosmic egg. That's 3.1. Then you have numerology. I primarily use Chaldean. Then, of course, I use science and tarot. We get pictures of it using tarot. These all have numbers tied to science, the atomic weights, the protons. And then, of course, last but not least, this is what most people lack, and that's freaking common sense. Not you, but most people lack common sense. Anyway, these are the websites that I use. I use Gematrinator, primarily Chaldean, and then I have my Royal Society of Chemistry for the elements, and then of course the digits of pi, this website right there, and then of course if you want to use the Eve Anderson where you can measure the decimal places, you can do that as well. I use both of those. So those are my methods. Keep in mind, Jesus and Satan in numerology equal the number 32, and the mirror of that is the 23, which is the word crown. I believe the crown is in London. They run the show. They're the boss, temporarily right now, of course, but that's where it sits. And the 23rd card in the tarot, if you're counting the Fool card as the 22nd, it's either the King of Swords or the Queen of Swords, one or the other, or Queen of Wands, King of Wands or Queen of Wands, one of those two cards. Kind of interesting. Okay, kind of interesting. So moving along, again, Genesis 3 verses 15. If you take these numbers and you match these up with the tarot cards, the third card is the Empress, the one that gives birth to things, and then of course the 15th card is the Devil card, and you have those versus one another. When you add those up in numerology, the Empress, the Devil, you get the number 77. And we're going to get into the 77 because that is embedded in the yin and the yang. We're going to get into that. So here it is through the tarot, Jesus and Satan. Jesus is the 18, Satan is the 14, And of course, I have 3 cards for each one. The reason why is because Jesus is the 1-8, giving its energy to the 9 in numerology. Satan's the 1-4, giving its energy to the 5, the 9 and the 5. We're going to get into that as well. But here's Jesus outlaid in the tarot. He's the magician. He has the strength card, and he gives all his energy to the sage, the wise one, the hermit, the 9th card. And I think this card fits him perfectly. The old man on the mountain right there. Then you have Satan, the 1, he has the magician card, but then he has the emperor, which is the king on the chessboard. And then of course, the 1-4 equals 5, the 5th card. The 1-4 gives all its energy to the Hierophant. There's your Pope, it's the dictator. It's the one that tries to rule the world through lies and bullshit and propaganda, if they're of course serving service to self. And of course, that's what Satan's all about, service to self. That's why he's the adversary. So moving along, again, here's the 14 and the 18. Now we're going to start to break this down hot and heavy. Now, I wanted to show you guys in numerology. Here is Satan right here. He's the 1-4. It's the magician and the emperor, and that equals the number 52. And then Jesus is the 1 and the 8. That's the magician and strength. That equals the number 50. When we divide those into one another, because again, we're talking about opposing forces, are we not? You get the number 0.96. 96 is related to the tetragrammaton. If you follow my work, you automatically know how important this number is over and over and over and over and over again. I believe, as of right now, the tetragrammaton has a dualistic nature. Its personality is expressed through these 2 entities that we describe as Jesus and Satan right there. Perhaps even Jesus and Lucifer. I think Lucifer's tied to Satan. We're going to get into that in a little bit. So here you go. This is another aspect of dividing these of opposing forces. Satan 14, Jesus 18. When we divide those numbers into one another, jackpot, Las Vegas, we get the 777. And is that the real reason why they choose the 777s for the jackpot on the slot machines? I don't know, but you know, it's a very good possibility. Now, I want to digress and tell everybody, there is no way that man could be doing this alone. It would be impossible for everything to be coded the way it is with these numbers in the matrix reality. Absolutely impossible. So there has to be some kind of outside force that is drawing this up and creating what I would say is our software expressing itself through the matrix reality. You know, perhaps we could even say this is a video game. I believe this is a game. This is the game of life. And in order to win the game of life, you got to understand all the rules and regulations. And I think that's really the aspect of true ascension and liberation. But there you go, the 0.777. Now, that's really, really important according to the digits of pi. If you measure 777 spaces into the digits of pi, it ends up being at the 1,589th decimal digit of pi. You can fact check that yourself. I showed you the website. And that's really, really important when we measure that using the atomic weights. The first element, the 5th element, the 8th element, and the 9th element, which matches up with the 1,589. When we add up the average atomic weights of those elements, we get the number 46.815. The 46 is the big standout. Why is that? Because the word Jesus Lucifer equals the number 46. The word president equals the number 46. Kind of interesting when you really start to bring all these layers in, not just using one. You got to use multiple modalities to get a defining aspect, and we need pictures because we think in pictures. So the numbers are great, but we need pictures. So what's up with the 777s, man? 0.777, that's 3 nitrogens. 14.007 is its average atomic weight. Its most abundant is 14.003, but we're using the average. What the Royal Society of Chemistry tells us, we add those up, we get the number 42.021. Obviously, I've shown you the contrast with the colors there, and for good reason. Now we're going to bring in more elements. Now let's go to the 42nd element and the 21st element. This is one of Saturn's elements because Saturn equals 21. And it's scandium and the element number 42. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that, but element number 42, MO. And when we divide those, again, we're opposing forces. Look at what we end up getting again. 0.46, which matches up with Jesus Lucifer, 46. I think it's rather interesting there that we get yet another direct hit and we extend upon these things that, you know, the Matrix is showing us right here. Really, really important. Really, really important. Moving along. Jesus and Satan in its reduced form. Jesus is an 18, giving all its energy to the 9 if you want to do it this way. Satan is the 14/5. I thought it's kind of interesting. Dolly Parton had a song called Working 9 to 5. It's a way to make a living. Most people work first shift. They work 9 to 5. They punch the clock. Kind of interesting there. I just want to throw that in there. But look at the big standout. It's the Hermit card, Jesus card, and the Hierophant. It's Satan's card. And of course, in numerology, Hermit and Hierophant equal the number 64, which is a mirror of the 46. And, keep in mind, how many squares on a chessboard? You guessed it, 64. And for good reason, because whoever created this game, I don't even think they could have, they thought of all this kind of stuff. No freaking way. But they knew that, you have the black and the white, that's for sure. And I'm almost certain that this is Jesus, and then this is Lucifer. You could look at it any other way, Satan, Lucifer. I think they're connected. But anyway, I had put a post out before showing this, and, the 9 and the 14, Jesus is 18, Lucifer equals 28, and we get the same outcome. You see, Jesus divided into Lucifer in numerology, you get 0.64, and then, the 9, which is what Jesus reduces to, down to the 14, which is Satan, and you get the 0.64. So it's really fascinating how these things line up, especially with chess, Now let's bring the elements of the 9 and the 5. The 9th element is fluorine, which is one of Jesus's elements, and then of course the 5th element, which is one of Satan's elements, is boron. And then of course we're going to divide again, and when we divide these two, we get the number 0.569. That's the big standout that I see. I see 11-9 or 911, 119. And if you want to just add them all up, like some of you want to do, you're going to get the same outcome as 911 when you press it on the phone. Why do they do things on 911? 9 plus 1 plus 1. You get the picture. So I'm just showing you kind of what we're looking at here. And, I think another big standout is the 5 and the 6. Aleister Crowley, if you studied any of his work, he was huge into the 5 and the 6 because it's the marrying of the 5th and 6th chakra. The 6th chakra is the third eye. The 5th chakra is the throat. You see and you speak. And that's why that 5 and 6 marry one another and they go along so well. So I think that's really important right there. And then of course, let's bring in the 9, let's bring in the 14 and the 18 element, Jesus and Satan. You have silicon and argon. Silicon is Satan, argon is Jesus. And then of course, look at the numerology. Argon is 18, silicon is 23. That's a 9-5. That matches up again with your 95 right there. Really fascinating if you really start to break this stuff down. I want to point out one thing here. Silicon, which is Satan's element. The first letter in any name or title or word is called the capstone, kind of like the capstone on the pyramid. It dictates the energy. Well, of course, Satan starts with an S. S as in serpent, S as in snake, goes back to the Adam and Eve story. Silicon is, has a capstone with the letter S, and of course, that could be the sine wave, the sin wave. We could definitely look at it that way, the sin wave, right there, tied into the cornucopia. It's tied into a lot of things. But, another standout here, Lucifer equals the number 28. And, I just think these are big standouts. And here's one of Jesus's cards. It's the 18th card. It's the moon card. So the adversary is what we're talking about. We're talking about Satan. I thought this was really, really interesting. The word adversary equals the number 25, and that matches up with the black sun, because black sun also equals the number 25. So they both mirror one another. Not mirror, they both match up. Black sun and adversary, 25, and white sun ends up equaling 35. So it's off by 10, but the interesting part about it, some of you have seen this, when you add up the numerology aspects of white sun, black sun, yin yang, you get the number 77. And that's where it's at, ladies and gentlemen, 77. Which of course is 14, which is 5. It's kind of interesting because it all leads back to the aspects of Satan, in this world. Because, the Bible, if you study theology, it says that, the wicked one is the ruler of this world. I can't define that. It's up to you to define that. It's up to you to define that through what you're learning, And last but not least, black sun, which is, leads up to Satan, and it's 11-5, by the way, 115, which is the element Moscovium, and that's on a lot of aspects. 115 Moscovium is supposedly tied to UFOs and what powers UFOs. It's kind of interesting there if you study Moscovium. But, you have black sun here at 25, white sun at 35, Jesus and Lucifer, or Jesus and Satan. You have manganese and bromine. And when you take the most natural abundant atomic weights of these two elements and you divide those into one another, you once again get the number 0.69 or the 96. The mirror could be the Cancer sign. There's so many significant pieces to all of this. But I think you're noticing, this is the white sun, this is the black sun. And of course, you have spring and fall. It's spring and fall, 12 and 6 o'clock, this thing spins around. I think that's how our matrix reality works. But what is it you see? What do you see? These are just my opinions and my expressions, man. These are my truths. But what do you see? I'm trying to give you multiple layers rather than just giving you a bunch of numbers to look at. What do you see? 64, 46. These are big tie-ins. Look at all the 46, all these numbers, especially the digits of pi. 777 jackpot. 96, 69. What do you see? That's all I got for today. My name's Logan. This is Decode Your Reality. Thanks for watching.